Hi, Mark here from the Tangibound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangibound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangibound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangiboundNetwork.com and see if Tangibound Network is right for you.
We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind, so if you feel you do need help, please reach out and get the help you need. We have a whole list of things on our files page over on Facebook at facebook.com/crazylifepodcast, and or just search on the internet for the suicide prevention hotline number, or go to NAMI.org or whatever resource you can find. But just please reach out for help if you need it. If you feel as though you're going to harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. And try not to be alone. Also, if you feel that way and you realize that you're writing a note or making plans of how you would do, like harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. That's a huge red flag. And lastly, please do not replace the idea of therapy with listening to this show. Again, if you need help, please reach out and get the help that you need, or contact us. We can try to help you find the help that you need.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time, stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to The Crazy Life, everybody. I'm your host, Brian, and joining me tonight, as always, is Henno.
Hi.
And not joining us tonight is Jen. So.
Oh, no.
Yep. So, woo, boys' night. No.
Oh, God. That's funny.
Yeah. No,
I was just thinking, like, okay, let's see. What's happened over the last 2 weeks? When did we podcast?
Yeah. It is interesting how by going to the bi-weekly thing, it is harder to do the catch-up thing, because it's like, did I talk about that last time? And
yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in our last week, I've
oh yeah,
thought I got exposed to COVID, which the more we've kind of dug into it, I don't really think we actually were exposed. I think we dodged a bullet, because I think the people who were exposed that were up at Jim's thing were up there Saturday and exposed him, and my mom did not go up there, like Saturday night. She was up during the day Saturday, and she didn't go Sunday. So I think she just dodged it. My test came back negative. That was a fun experience. That was the first time I've had the old swab up the nose. So that was, it didn't hurt.
It's not too bad.
Nah, it's really not. It tickled. The woman's like, you're probably going to feel like you got to sneeze afterwards.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, though, with my sinus issues, what I actually felt was the ability to breathe for a couple of minutes, and then my sinuses just closed right back up, because we've had like a high or a low pressure system go through here like every 2 days for the last couple weeks, basically.
So my sinuses have just been a mess. And, it was nice to breathe for a little while. And I had just had a really uncomfortable feeling afterwards. That's what I had, but other than that, whatever. Oh, and it made my eyes water. So that was, because I cried. No, no, I was.
Because I've had both. Well, I've had one where they, where the nurse or the tech or whatever it was did the swabbing, and then I had another one on drive-through where they just told me to do it. Yeah,
that's what I was curious if she was going to have me do it, and I was like, oh, this is not going to be good because I'm not good at. I don't even like to put eye drops in. Like, I have a thing about like inflicting things upon myself. So even if they don't really hurt, I'm weird about it. So, but when when we drove up, she was, she just did it. So I was like, oh, even better. So.
And your PSA, they got the free COVID test kits for everyone's household.
Oh, yes, that too.
Go to covidtest.gov. You get there's a link, takes you right to the U.S. Postal Service. You fill it out, boom, that's it. They send you 4 free test kits per household.
Yep. I was amazed at how easy that was to use and that the site didn't crash.
Yeah.
Because
what's smart is they use the Postal Service's website.
Yeah.
That was smart.
It was.
You're talking the amount of volume that the Postal Service gets every day. They had no problem with it.
Yep. Because when they announced they were doing a website, and I'm like, oh boy,
Yeah, exactly. So the website was pretty much just info and a link.
Yep.
Smart.
That was smart. Yeah.
One thing that they did right.
Got that ordered, also, so we'll have them in case we need them, and So it was good.
I had just one day. Was it last week? Yeah, last week. I woke up totally congested, just like nose stuffed, everything, and I'm like, okay, this is definitely not good. And so I called in sick, ended up sleeping most of the day. So I was definitely not feeling right.
Yeah.
And by the next morning, the congestion had cleared. I still had like a minor little sore throat, but pretty much I felt fine. But because we don't know how Omicron is, exhibiting its, what are the symptoms? I was like, I've had a couple people tell me that what they had, and there's still that consistent thing about a real sharp cough, for some cases, a sharp cough and the brain fog.
Yeah.
Like those are still factors. I mean, some people don't have those. Some people they just feel like they have a cold. But for most people that end up, having real obvious symptoms, so it's like, well, I have to stay away from work another day.
Yeah.
Otherwise I would have gone to work.
Yeah.
And I probably could have gone and just wore a mask, but it's like, no, let's not do this.
Right. Yeah, I actually, a couple of days I had that, I had a couple of days in a row where, when I woke up, I didn't feel like I felt kind of tired still. And like you said, I was all congested. I had a sore throat. And then after I was thinking about it, I'm like, oh, I know what it is. I'm all congested. I'm snoring because I'm congested. And since I'm snoring, I'm waking myself up. I'm not getting a good night's sleep is really all it comes down to. And then when my sinuses opened up a little bit, like a day or so later, I got a better night's sleep, and I felt 100% the next day. But then I felt it again like a couple days later, and I'm like, this is all sinuses, And also I had talked to my sister, who I have not been around at all, and she has sinus issues too, and she goes, oh, she's like, have you been having congestion and blah? I'm like, yeah, and she goes, oh, it's been so bad. I'm like, okay, that helps. That I'm probably, and then my test came back negative on top of that. So it was, but, because for a couple days I was like, I feel fine. And then there was a couple days where I'm like, I don't know, maybe I do, maybe it's manifesting now. And, but I had my test done after that point, and then when it came back, it was negative. So I was like, okay, well, I thought so. Cause you know how it is, we've both had sinus issues forever. And it's like you pretty much know and can guess, but also, like you said, with this, it's a little less clear. So it's like, well, I'm going to play safe. So we stayed in. We didn't go anywhere. We ordered pizza one night, but I did the contactless delivery, so they just left it on the porch. And then I waited a couple minutes and I went to go outside because I wanted to give the delivery woman time to clear out. So just in case, I walk outside and she was down by her car. She wasn't up on our porch or anything anymore, but she was still out there waiting to make sure that I got the food okay. And I was like, oh, I appreciate that, and
that's cool.
She's like, oh, I was just about to call you because, it had been a few minutes. And I'm like, and I told her why. And she goes, oh, she's like, well, thank you, for, and I was like, yeah, that's, I told her, I said, I don't think we did, but we're just playing safe. And she, so, but now that we're, seemingly clear that neither of us had any symptoms that, like I've already said, weren't something I already have anyway. Cause, almost every day of the week I'm congested.
Well, that's my thing is because I take allergy meds every day. I know what level is pretty much normal and what's outside of that range.
Right.
Yeah. And then the New York Times actually did a really great visual display. I loved how they didn't even make it look computer generated. They made it look like someone just drawing on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Where they did a ramp, just just your standard graph and a trend line showing the difference between the onset of symptoms when, and how long and how it drifts off, comparing alpha to delta to Omicron.
Oh,
it was really cool. It was very informative, showing that the onset of symptoms is faster now and it clears quicker. And, it was just neat. And they made it look just really simple and basic too. So it was good to see, because that's the thing is there's a lot of info that we don't have yet.
Yeah.
For making decisions. And one of the things I was really happy about is my coworker, Sean, he was wearing a mask at work. He's like, and trying to keep his distance. And he at least was honest about it. He's like, hey, my kid's got to go to school. I can't bring anything home.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, good for you.
Yeah.
Just be upfront and honest about it and just take care of yourself.
Yep.
Because the rest of us are, we're going to do what we're going to do. And that's all, Oh, and we all got raises at work. Woo! I got my paycheck last week and opened it up, and my property manager was amazing. She had noticed that I could, because of how I, when I took my holiday, she switched days around, so I got my holiday within the new.
Oh, nice.
After the first of the year at the new scale. So I had one holiday pay at my old rate and one holiday pay at my new rate. Oh, wow. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, that's a difference. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. You had it right there in black and white, basically. You're like, whoa. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was going to be happy with, it was what I saw I'd accidentally had got to see what the proposal was. And I was going to be happy with just half, if they split the difference.
Right.
But I got the full deal.
Woo!
So when
whole
I saw
quarter.
Omar the next week, I told him, I said, so how'd you like your paycheck? He's like, it was very nice. I'm like, good. And,
awesome.
Yeah. Then we had some issues it was just frustrating, some issues with our answering service again. And I'm like, well, how our response to it. And it just really disappointed me that we've been trying to make this thing work now for so long, and I've tried to explain it as simple as possible. And we had a call come through, and because one guy we're doing it on a rotating week basis, and he just made the assumption that we're in week 2, and it's like, well, no, we're actually in week 3 because the calendar is going to rotate a little bit. The first isn't on the same day.
Yeah, right.
Right. And so he told him that he wasn't on call, and so that means that it switched. Went to the net. Things got switched. I don't know how it happened. I accidentally had the phone number blocked. Thank goodness I got the text message at least.
Oh, geez.
So. Yeah, it was weird. Because when I got into work the next day, it showed that I had 3 voicemails, that they'd left 3 voicemails. I'm like, I don't have 3 voicemails. And then it was on, I let a couple days go by before I was going to email the company. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, wait a minute. And I went into my voicemails, into the blocked voicemails, and they were in there. And I'm like, okay, at some point I'd accidentally block this number. So I unblocked that, and I just told, I told everyone, I said, if we don't, we have our new general manager is going to be starting in a few weeks. He's from a hotel. Right now they've got employees out with COVID, so he has to do everything. He and his wife are in the kitchen doing the breakfast at the hotel.
Oh, geez, yeah.
They're cleaning rooms. And I told the guys, I was like, that guy who's pretty much on call 24/7 is not going to care that you don't want to be on call on weekends.
Yeah.
He's not going to care. Hopefully he'll pick up some of the, be another connection.
Yeah.
But I was like, if we don't come together and collectively just, make a decision to make this happen, he's gonna tell us how it's gonna be.
Yeah, he's gonna make the decision for you. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So we either all do it together like a team, and none of this like, okay, who's gonna be backup? No hands raised.
Yeah.
No, we all have to do it. And I just kept trying to say, it's like, we just need to answer the phone.
Yeah.
Who goes is, I kept reminding them, like, they're not paying us to be on call.
Right.
They cannot restrict our behavior. It doesn't matter that your name is on there. Go drive to Twin Falls. That they can't make you stay unless they pay you.
Right.
So I'm like, all you have to do is answer the phone and send a group text out.
Yeah.
Like, hey, so-and-so's got this problem. I'm in Twin right now. Who can help?
Right.
And we'll work it out.
Yeah.
And the main thing is just customer service. We just want to connect. We want to do that customer service thing. And so I think, because I sent an email out to everyone. I wanted to use an expletive. Let's just say a more harsh version of crummy. And I ended up just saying disappointed. I was just disappointed that we still can't make this happen. And I don't even want to be involved with this anymore. I have too much other stuff I need to do in the office now.
Right.
And I think it sunk in with everyone because there was a lot more proactive response that week. And that's what I find works best for us as far as our little working environment is when everyone is at least showing a proactive interest in finding a solution. No one's feelings get hurt. Everyone feels, inclusive. Everyone, that it feels good, and it really is one of those silly things where it's like, and I need to remember this too. It's like, if somebody's the guy or the girl for a particular thing and they need help, show interest, show that you care.
Yeah. Because
it keeps them wanting to, be the point person, whatever. And so I hope there's some lessons learned this week. It felt really good. It just, again, every week work is just good. Yeah. So happy to say that still.
Good. Yeah.
So happy to say that things are getting done. I'm not killing myself. I haven't felt stressed at all.
Good.
And that's been really great because I had way too much stress last summer. And I'm staying really busy, which is great. Day goes by fast. I get home. The only problem is I'm being a lot lazy at night still when I get home.
Yeah.
I'm wanting a lot of downtime. So I'm like way behind on I have 2 podcasts I have to edit. Haven't even gotten close to them. And so now I'm going to go home in March for a week. And I'm going to do 2 whole weekends. And one of them I'm going to go on the annual Estonian ski trip, but I'm just going to go play music.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not going to go ski. And so we're organizing that. And I'm one guy sings a little, but I need to be the primary singer. Mm. So I need to learn a lot of music. And it was funny when they sent out the list. It was like a list of like, I don't know, it was like 70 songs. So I'm like, geez, what am I going to do with this? And I started with, I'm just going to delete everything that I have zero interest in.
I got your solution. You just take your iPad and you get some sort of a karaoke app, and then you just have the thing like a teleprompter, and you just write off that.
So what's cool is they now have apps that so you can upload any like a Word doc or anything like that, and it auto scrolls through the doc.
So there you go. Okay, so that explains how there's been times when, like, not so much now, but when everyone was quarantined, and like you'd see people doing the news reports from home and different stuff, and every once in a while somebody would have glasses or something. You could see a reflection.
You see the glare? Yep.
You could see the type scrolling, and I was like,
yes,
because it's like I know they're not sending a teleprompter home with these people. They just telling them to use their iPad or something like that.
Yep.
So okay.
And it's really cool. It works great. My one singer I play with, he used it, and so I've never used it. I just use a music stand and just fix notations.
Yeah.
But it's great because you can have big print.
Yeah.
And have it scroll by. The thing about it is that you have to pick a tempo, and if you're not, if you like in the middle,
right.
if you go for a jam, that verse is going to go by.
Oh,
right.
Right. Yeah.
So now they make a little foot controller too that you can hook up.
Okay, so you can
via
stop
Bluetooth.
it. Yeah.
So you can scroll it. You can start, stop, and scroll.
Okay.
It's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So
that's
I'm
right.
I don't know if I'm going to quite go that far. I'm
Right.
picking up a couple things for this event, but yeah, I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have a really busy and this is where it's my again, freaking proactive should have been my power word for the year. But what I want to be is proactive with how much time I have, because this is something I really want to do. I want to kick butt, and I'm going to be proactive in saying no to things. That's like kind of my my commitment for the next couple weeks is to be honest and realistic about the amount of time I have to commit to other things.
Sure.
And so that other people, because my tendency is to just kind of brush it off and leave people hanging. And it's like, well, I don't need to do it that way. I can tell them up front, this is the way it is. And when I'm done, I'll be done.
Yeah.
And I can get back to this, but for now I need to do this. And whether they like it or not, that's nothing I can do. That's not my problem. It's that this is something I want to do. And then it allows them to make decisions, like we talk about. I gotta hit the ball over the net. I got, to the next, and they get to do what they get to do.
Right.
But that's one thing that has to happen. And other than that, I got that all the dogs are, going to have their annual vet stuff happening pretty soon. But otherwise life's really good. I had a great, I had someone I haven't talked to in a while. I'd sent an email. It was actually inspired by the Bell Let's Talk.
Yeah.
That hashtag.
Yeah.
I had noticed they had responded to it, and we hadn't talked in a long time. And I just sent an email. This goes back. This is a few years now, and I just sent an email saying, "Hey, I saw this on Twitter or whatever it was, and we hadn't talked in a while, and I just said I'm thinking about you, and that I'm actually doing a podcast, a weekly podcast on mental health. And so I know what you're going through from what what we've all shared on here and we've worked on. And I heard nothing back. And I just was like, nothing. And I got a reply to the email last week. And it's been nice just reconnecting a little bit, especially where I have somebody that I care about, and we haven't been, close, but I understand what their struggle is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it really, those are friendships that are important to me.
Yeah.
Is to be there. Like my friend Brendan's really struggling with taking care of his dad, and he has a hard time talking to people because everything is always negative.
Yeah.
Because it's always a struggle taking care of somebody else. And what's interesting is he had said, he's like, I'm thinking about contacting my therapist from, back in Mourn. And I was like, that's a great idea. Mm-hmm. Because like I could sit there and tell him like, oh, well, hey, why don't you pick up a book on this or something like that. But there's just something about when you're connected authority, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what a therapist is someone that we're connected to, somebody that we respect. Like, I could tell you all day long, like, hey, why don't you get a book on mindfulness or do this? But when that person says it, it hits differently.
Yeah.
And it's just the way it is.
Right. Oh, you're totally right. We can all think of a time where, someone's said something to us and we've been telling them for like 2 years. why don't you this? And then they go see a doctor or whatever it is, like you said, a person of authority, and they go, oh, you should try this. And they're like, oh my God. And you're like, I've been telling you that for 2 years, and you're like, oh, yeah.
And the thing about it is because we tell ourselves those things
Yeah.
for years,
Yep.
and we ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's, and so I'm just happy that I could be there for, it's, we love sharing happy news too, but you can't bottle it in. You got to have someone to out the bummer stuff with. And I think the topic we're going to do tonight had a couple of cool suggestions too. So
yeah.
Anyhow, but how other than your COVID and you got some family stuff going on, what else what's new?
Yeah. Speaking of, like you said, just feeling like every time you talk with somebody, it was just heavy. It's like after the last couple weeks, that's how it's felt, is every time someone's like, oh, what's going on? Or how's this? And it's like, well, and
yeah.
Well, here's today's update of bad news. That's just how it felt. And it actually, my mom's boyfriend, that the part that sucks is he did contract COVID, but he's seemingly doing okay with it. He hasn't had any real anything other than like mostly a cough. And so he's been fortunate in that regard. And she actually, they were talking via Zoom a couple days ago because, they had it rigged in the hospital to where they have they had a laptop in there that he could talk with his daughter and my mom for a little bit. So, and he seems okay as far as that goes. He wasn't, he didn't seem to be feeling real horrible or anything other than, he's tired of being in the hospital because he's been in there for a few weeks now. But, they're saying that his numbers are getting more in range where they should be and seemingly moving the right direction to where it looks like before too long, they'll be moving him into it's a nursing home with rehab basically because, after having a foot amputated, he's got to learn how to walk again. Learn how to use crutches. Wow. They're going to fit him for a prosthetic, all that kind of stuff. But even just normal stuff like just teaching your brain not to just jump out of bed in the morning, because you can't because you won't have that other foot, so. Wow. Yeah.
That's just heavy.
Yeah. And it's, unfortunately it's, he's moving the right way, but it's a long road in front of him, but, and he's willing to put the work in and stuff. So, cause, they warned my mom, say, hey, there's a lot of people his age that just want to sit in a wheelchair and give up. So hopefully that won't be the case, but that's up to him at this point. That's everyone else will stay as positive as possible, but he's got to want to fight for himself here. So, but overall feeling like, maybe the cloud is kind of lifted a little bit from, the way it was there for, man, I felt like every day I seriously, I think almost every day I was like, okay, so now there's this. Yeah. I was like, geez, and then, when we found out he had COVID and I'm like, oh, come on. Cause he was already weakened and, it's like, thank goodness he was, vaxxed and boosted and he had his pneumonia shot, his flu shot, so it was like, he had like all the vaccinations you could basically have for whatever it was that was hitting him. So it was, hopefully those did their job. And like I said, he's seemingly moving the right way on all that. So that's all good, and because of, we weren't sure about the exposure and stuff. My mom hasn't been able to go see him, but that's allowed her to kind of, get more rest and kind of recharge her batteries, even though it's still stressful and there's worry and all that kind of stuff, but it's, that's helped too. So, that's the silver lining essentially in it, because she was running herself pretty exhausted and now she's got herself charged back up a little bit, so that's all good. Yeah. So it's, like I said, not out of the woods yet, but definitely feeling like baby steps towards the right way. And that's all you can ask for at this point. So, and then of course, like I said, negative COVID tests and stuff. So that's good, because that's another worry off my mom and, my family, because they were all worried that more so about her than me, but, you know, they were worried that she might have it. But, yeah. So, yeah, that's really been about it for the week, though, you know, because it's, you know, this week we couldn't really go anywhere because we weren't sure if we had been exposed or not. So we didn't want to. The only place we went was my doctor's office, you know, had the drive-through COVID testing. So that was the only place we went until, yesterday. And then we just went out and got some food. So it just mainly because we were just like, we got to get out of this house, you know, like it had only been like 5 days, but it's still, you're just like, I just need to get out of the house for a little bit. And, you know, so also you don't really want to be out a whole lot because we've been having days with like wind chills of like, you know, under 10 degrees and stuff like that. So we've been very fortunate when it comes to snow, though, because they showed a thing the other day. It's like this time of year, usually that we've got, I forgot how much snow it is, but we've only had like, was it? I think we've had under 2 inches of snow or something like that, or 3 inches. It's not much. And, it's weird because there's been a lot of storms pass us. There's one the other day I wish I would have been able to get a picture of because I've told people for years that this area, if you're going to live in this area, where I live is pretty close to the sweet spot because just off to our left and north, you know, you've got Lake Michigan basically. So a lot of times there's kind of lake effect stuff that'll still creep this way, but it usually either goes north or south of us. And then with us being right on Lake Erie, Cleveland gets crushed all the time. You know, but a lot of times the stuff will go just north of us, and there literally was a system that as it was swirling around, there was if you just took an eraser and just did it like a line, it was like from where I live down, you know, in a diagonal line. And above us, they got, I forgot, it was like 2 or 3 inches of snow. Below us, they got anywhere from 2 to 4 inches, and we got nothing. I mean, we didn't even get flurries. That's how, you know, and that happens a lot here. And now that I've said that, we're probably about to get like 10 feet. But
yeah, you know, crushed. I had interesting. I went out to so I had a snow load slam into the mast that our power comes to the house.
Yeah,
and I had to go up there and fix the roof a little bit because it really slammed this thing hard, and I stuck a cable up there to kind of hold it in place from the cables falling, and I did it also to kind of straighten it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But when I did that, it tweaked the panel that it goes down to, you know, where the meter is in.
Yeah.
But I was like, but this will work. Nothing's leaking. That was the main thing. It was going to be waterproof. It could make it through the winter.
Right.
So I'm going and feeding the squirrels on the side of the house, and I turn around, and the whole box is just completely crooked, and the conduits are just destroyed, and you can see the mains wires in there, and I'm just like, what happened?
Oh my.
And I'm looking. Well, I realized that the snow load pushed on the cable and tightened it up even more. And then the whole thing cantilevered, and I hadn't thought about like clamping if I'd have clamped the conduit itself to the building, it wouldn't have happened. But I didn't even think about it. And it was already damaged. But then all of a sudden I'm like, oh wait, this is why I have insurance.
Yeah.
Right? And I've never made a claim.
Yeah.
I've been here 10 years.
Right.
This would be my first claim. It's $1,000 deductible.
Yeah.
It'll be totally worth it.
Right.
You know, just to get, because this is something I've done at a house before. I've installed one of these.
Yeah.
But as far as like coordinating with the power company and making sure everything's up to code, like it's worth the deductible to me.
Right.
To have somebody else do it all. And then
Sure.
It's the roofer that's the problem. I know an electrician that'll come out and do this. It's getting a roofer right now to do a small job is almost impossible.
Yeah.
But it was funny how I had that moment of like, oh yeah, this is why I have insurance for this exact thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like this thing that happened. It's, you know, nature occurred.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's good.
It
Yeah,
funny.
it's good that you do because, you know, I'm with you on that. There's just certain things that I'm not handy at all, so I'm very much the type to like, I'll look. What I usually do is I'll look like on YouTube or online, and then I'll decide, is this above my pay grade or not? Because if it is, then it's like, well, it's time to hand it off. Can I do irreparable harm, basically?
Yeah, that's it.
Or am I going to make it 3 times worse if I screw it up?
And I was already like I already tried fixing it and made it worse.
Right.
So maybe not continue on at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't blame
Learning.
you. Yep.
Oh, it's good stuff.
Yeah. It's, good life lesson to learn sometimes is, if you can fix something yourself, that's awesome. But also sometimes it's, like that. If you're just making it worse, it's like, do I want to keep trying to make this better and maybe keep making it worse and worse? And now I've got like a $5,000 bill or something.
Well, and that's at work too. One of the things that we had scheduled is to tear down our boilers and rebuild them. And it was just something where I'm like, okay, I know we did it 10 years ago and it really wasn't that difficult, but it's just something I don't want to do.
Right.
Like just because we can do it doesn't mean we should.
Right.
And we're looking for a welder for some other issues. And there was one welder that was suggested that was a boiler company. And I'm like, God, I really want this guy. I want to talk to this guy. Well, he's the one that called, first of all, and he just showed up on Tuesday. Oh. And I'm just like, well, yes.
All right.
You know, like, and when it came to the work that we need to have him to do, the welding, I'm just like, hey, T&M, I know you can't bid on this because you can't see it.
Yeah.
I know you can give me a price on this, but I'm totally good with T&M, and plus I want to establish a relationship with you.
Sure. And
the one thing, and so when I described it to the property manager, she had a great point. She's like, yeah, I don't think the insurance company would really be stoked that the on-site staff is rebuilding the boilers,
right,
rather than someone that's actually certified boiler mechanic.
Right. Yeah, it'd be different if one of you guys was certified as a boiler mechanic, but yeah.
And the thing about it is that for most things, it's the boiler is no different than, I mean, I've worked on small boilers all the time, same components, exactly the same components. It's just that this one's big enough to blow up a building,
right?
If something goes wrong,
sure, and that's where the insurance is going to be concerned because
right?
Yeah.
So I just was when we talked this out loud and everyone's like, yeah, I don't want to do it either. Don't want to do it either. It's like, awesome. And the guy's like, yeah, we'll set up an annual maintenance contract. So you're not rebuilding them every 10 years. You just fix them as you go.
Right.
It's part of your contract. I'm like, yes, this is what I wanted.
This
Thank you.
makes so much more sense anyway. Yeah.
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 It's funny, those little, like, those are actually, that's the worst of my stresses right now, is this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, I know we can do it, but I really don't want to do it anymore. And then to have it just be taken away right away.
Yeah.
It's like, thank you.
Well, it also gives you something to kind of think about too, right? And I don't mean to manipulate, but I mean in the sense that if there is something like this that comes up, if you can kind of use the, I don't think the insurance, blah, 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 it might be something that can make it to where you don't have to do some of this stuff.
Well, that was it. That was all the justification I needed.
Yeah.
Like as soon as Kathy said that, I'm like, boom, that's it. That's your point right there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You're like, yeah, that's totally why I didn't want to do it. I mean,
just the fact that I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is my proactive no.
Yeah. Yep.
This is my. I'm serious. I'm changing my power word for the year.
All right.
It's proactive.
Proactive. All right.
No.
You're gonna get that acne under control finally. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So you want to hear our topic for the night? Yeah, I'm just gonna send you a.
Yeah.
So it's a New York Times article called "How to Improve Your Mental Health in 2022."
Oh, okay.
And then the first sentence starts with the year 2021 was one of emotional whiplash. Was it?
Maybe for some people.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I mean, it talks about the anticipation for vaccines and then confusing rollouts. And I'm like, okay, I guess.
Yeah.
Variants. I mean, to me, it just sounds like life,
Yeah.
that we deal with all the time. You have expectations and then the results aren't exactly how you planned it. But the first item for how to improve your mental health for 2022 is to give your feeling a name.
Okay.
And
that's interesting.
I was like, all right. The one thing that I liked the most was, all right, so people certainly knew they were feeling some kind of way in 2021, but it wasn't burnout or depression or even boredom. It was something else. Languishing is the neglected middle child of mental health. Dr. Grant wrote, it's the void between depression and flourishing, the absence of well-being. And I'm like, huh, I get that. I know that feeling.
Yeah.
So the thing was that the first step in finding a cure for languishing is to give it a name, so that you have a clear window of what you're dealing with, so it's not, blurry. And I was like, okay. So I like that idea. Is like there's something, it's like I'm not feeling depressed, I'm not bored. What is it? Languishing. It's kind of like complacency. I know complacency. Right?
Yeah.
Like I fully know what that means. And then the second one is give your mental illness a name too. And I love this one, to actually give it a name. Like the example given here, gave the whole bundle a nickname, Bruce.
Okay.
And the nickname allows me to efficiently keep people apprised of my status, as in, well, Bruce has been really bringing me down this week. And it also helps lighten me up about my own darkness.
Okay.
And I'm like, that's kind of cool. I dig that. Like, so if whatever you're struggling with that week, give it a name. Maybe it's something silly.
Yeah.
So that when you do talk about, like I was talking about my friend Brendan, he's like, everything that's going on in my life right now is heavy. Why do I want to talk to anybody?
Yeah.
It's just a big bummer. And
Right.
so, like, I might suggest to him next time to, name the whole situation Sebastian or something. And
Right.
we can talk how, sea bass has been heavy lately.
Right.
Let's see. The third one is find meaning in everyday activities. A growing body of research shows that there are simple steps you can take to recharge your emotional batteries and spark a sense of fulfillment, purpose, and happiness. The psychology community calls this lofty combination of physical, mental, and emotional fitness flourishing. So tie ourselves back into our languishing.
Yeah.
So that's one easy way to get there is by doing your everyday activities with more purpose. Something as simple as cleaning the kitchen or doing yard work or even washing your pillowcases can build towards a sense of accomplishment.
True.
And then suggest like meditation or go for a short jog or whatever like that.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good thing. Is like even when you're doing something mundane, like just we talk about wins for a week.
Yeah.
Hey, if sometimes all you got up to do is do the laundry and maybe get the dishes done or something like that, flourish in it.
Those are wins.
Why not?
Those are absolutely wins. Because, especially, there's been plenty of days where, like I've said before, it's like just getting out of bed is an accomplishment, let alone doing, getting dressed, brush your teeth, take your medicines, have breakfast, like all those things can just really, it seems so silly because you're just like, well, that's just normal stuff. It's like, yeah, but when your mental health can get to a certain point to where that stuff gets neglected. So if you do any of it, take it as a win.
Yeah, instead of saying all I got done today was my laundry and got the dishes out of the sink in the dishwasher.
Yeah,
that sounds like you're languishing.
Yeah.
Well, no, flourish. Say, hey, this is what I did today.
Right. Exactly.
And own it.
Yeah, that's right.
Number 4 is try meditating anywhere. This is the one that for me, grocery store line.
Yeah.
I love just sitting there and doing some breathing exercises while I'm in the line at the grocery store. Totally dig it.
Yeah. It's a good spot for it too, especially lately where, at least here, the grocery store lines have been pretty long most of the time. So there's time to do it. And you've got noise all around you. So it's a really good place to really see if you can center yourself. I've tried it at different places, waiting rooms and grocery store lines and stuff. Just more of a little bit of a test, to kind of see how I'm doing with my meditation. Or if not, even if it's not a test, it's a good strength building exercise for your meditation. And it also can just help.
Yep. Yeah, those little. That's really what to me meditation is about. Is those little thing, those building up those little moments.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a great exercise here, though, that because like always, there's so many things that we talk about, and I think to myself afterwards, like, yeah, but how?
Yeah.
If you've never done it before, well, how?
Right.
Well, this is so cool. Hold one hand in front of you, fingers spread. Now slowly trace the outside of your hand with your index finger of the other hand, breathing in when you trace up a finger and out when you trace down. Move up and down all 5 fingers, and when you trace your whole hand, reverse direction and do it again. So you breathe as you go to the tip, you're breathing in. As you go down, you're breathing out. And you just go through your fingers. I could totally see doing that in a line somewhere.
Yeah, and the
It's
sensation of doing it too, you get, that helps keep you present, because that's a grounding technique right there for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a focus. You have a focus point. You're just looking down your hand and you're breathing in and you're breathing out.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. Number 5 is allow yourself to grieve small losses. And this is like kind of like some of the annoying things that happen. They're referring to the pandemic, but I think, like something that gets canceled, something that you were looking forward to.
Yeah.
Something that's not a big deal is to allow yourself to mourn even for small losses.
Yeah.
If you can do that with small losses, you're going to be probably a little bit better off with the big ones.
Yeah, you would think so. And you're right. It does, because it really does stink when you've, had a vacation planned or a concert you really look forward to, and then it gets canceled and all that stuff. Because you do mourn that stuff, even though, in the big scheme, it's like, life goes on, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, but still, that was something you were really, hopeful about and looking forward to. So it does stink when that stuff gets canceled or, whatever. And it does make sense to allow yourself a little bit of grieving on it. Well,
because what do? We dismiss it. We're like, I should be so lucky that I had this opportunity, and I shouldn't feel grief over this. It's like, but it is a loss.
Yeah.
And the whole idea is that if we keep dismissing even small moments of grief, then we're basically saying that grief isn't real and that our feelings aren't real.
Yeah.
It's like they suggest, so if you have a canceled tickets for a show or an airline ticket, go out in the backyard and bury it.
Like have a funeral for it, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
That's interesting. Yeah. It's funny because, again, like this kind of stuff falls into those lines of there's a lot of these things that on the surface feel really silly, but when you think about them, they're not, because they really are getting you to navigate through your emotions instead of just hiding from them or dismissing them more so, like you said. Because if you dismiss this and that, like you said, then when something else comes along, maybe you just dismiss it rather than actually feel it. And that's, that's feeling emotions and stuff is fine. It's again, like in meditation, you're taught with certain types of meditation to, feel your feeling or a thought and then let it go. Just like the breeze is blowing around you, that, okay, here comes the breeze. Oh, it's gone. And then move to your next one. And, if you just dismiss them, then you're not actually acknowledging your feelings. And these things can build up over time too. If you keep experiencing, little griefs, like you said, it can become a big situation. And now you're
my alcoholism, and what I mean by alcoholism, I'm talking about the bad behaviors that I needed to have my brain washed on. Those didn't occur overnight.
Yeah.
I practiced them for decades.
Right.
Just compartmentalizing and denial and all of the future casting, staying in outcome, minding other people's business. I didn't just suddenly wake up one day with these things. No, I practiced them.
Yeah.
Year after year after year, and that's why it wasn't easy to undo them.
Right. Yeah.
So if I'm just going to blow off certain feelings, eventually I've become a pro at that.
Yes.
So it's these, like you said, these little things are worth making adjustments because it's no different than how we got there.
Yeah.
So number 6 is, if you need one, take a sad day. And you don't need to tell anybody why you're taking the time off. Just say that you need to take a sick day and leave it at that or whatever. But don't spend the day checking your messages or feeling guilty. Make a plan to do something that will help you recharge.
Yeah.
And I like that. It's just say, you know what? I'm having a blow off day, and then go do something.
That was a big step for me in depression, is just allowing myself to have those days where even like for me, it's like, there's just some days where you're just like, it's, for lack of a better word, it's like you wake up and you just nope out of the day, basically. You're just like, nah, I'm not doing anything today, or whatever I end up doing is fine, and I'm going to sleep all day or lay in bed. Even if I'm not sleeping, I'm just going to do this and just kind of lean into it. And, you try to, again, always just try to make sure one day doesn't become a week, becomes a month, like type stuff. But just let yourself have the day and don't feel guilt from it. That the guilt is the hardest thing.
The key.
That's the hardest part of it, is not feeling guilty, but just, hey, my body's telling me that today's too much, and I'm just going to lean into it. I'm going to rest the best I can. I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm just going to be kind to myself today and, try to come back stronger tomorrow.
So number 7 is write down what's bothering you before bed. And this is kind of it's a cognitive behavioral therapy technique, otherwise known as CBT. It's the idea that whatever's bothering you, you write it down a couple hours before bed and then crumple up the paper and throw it away. And this particular paragraph is talking about a lot of sleep disturbances because of the pandemic that they called coronasomnia, because of just the worry and the
doom scrolling and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly, and fear and all that. And
sure.
One of the ones that this reminded me of is I had a contractor that I always I admired how he just seemed that he just had a method of not letting everything build up. And his thing is he did this visual exercise when he walked up to his house. Is there was a tree in the front of his house, and he stopped in front of that tree and he put all the tasks that didn't quite get finished that day in the tree.
Interesting.
Knowing that, and then he walked into the house knowing that when he walks outside the next morning, they'll be there for him.
Yeah.
Or maybe they won't.
Right.
But he doesn't need to take them inside.
Yeah.
They don't need to come home. They can stay out in the tree.
Right. That's a hard thing to do.
That.
That is a really hard thing. And I don't mean his exercise. I mean more just the, like how, you've heard for years, when someone's having a bad day at work or whatever, and because they brought in family stuff or they brought in outside stuff to work, and it always, hey, you got to leave that at the door. And it's like, yeah, that's really hard to do, and it's hard to do the other way.
The other way around. Yep.
And this is where, if Jen were here, I'm sure, she'd remember that after, she would come home from work when she wasn't happy at her one job and she would just unload about it. And it got to a point with me that I had to almost, I literally told her at one point, I'm like, okay, you've got, I don't remember if I said half an hour or an hour. After that,
time limit.
We're not talking about work anymore because, it's got to stop. Yeah. Because all you're going to do is just obsess all night on it. And that's no good for you. Also that allows work to own your free time essentially. And that's no good. That's your time. You need to relax and do things you enjoy or need to get done or whatever. And you don't need to be occupied with things you absolutely cannot control. You can't do anything about it anymore.
Don't let, one of the great pieces of advice is don't let people rent space in your head, and especially don't let work rent space in your head free.
Yeah, right.
That's I've actually always been pretty good about that. That the minute I jump in my car and I drive out the garage doors, I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't even ponder it. Now in the morning, sometimes there is a point where I kick in and I start thinking about the things I need to do at work that day.
Yeah.
But that doesn't bother me because usually it doesn't happen until I'm either getting my clothes on or I'm walking out to the car. Typically it's like I'm in the car, I've got my breakfast, I've got my, my cup of coffee there, and on the way up I'm just thinking about some, things that I need to do when I get in.
That it doesn't bother me, because that's you're formulating your game plan.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
So it's like, that's not, now, like you said, it'd be different if you got up for work at, let's just throwing numbers out. Like you got up for work at 6 o'clock, you didn't have to be at work till like 9. And at 6, you're immediately like, okay, I gotta, it's like, whoa, that's a lot. That's too much. Yeah.
And I don't, if I'm doing that, then
That's
I
why
need to definitely rebalance.
my 10th grade English teacher used to tell us about when he got up in the morning, he would, go take a shower, get dressed for the day of school. And then he would go into his, I don't know if it was his attic or music room anyway. And he would sit there with his tea and he would play guitar for an hour. And then he would go attack the day kind of a thing, because he's like, this way I know every morning, like I have an hour that's mine. And he's like, and since I'm playing guitar, he was trying to learn songs or something like that, to where you can't, you're not just mindlessly noodling, or you're not giving your brain any space to wander into other areas because you're trying to learn that song. So you're really staying on task and whatever and being present. So I remember him telling us that, and he said that was, one of the ways that he was able to have such a positive mindset every morning. Is he's like, I get up and I start the day with 2 things I really enjoy, basically,
There you go.
Like I really like a nice, cup of tea, and I really enjoy playing my guitar. So I didn't, and I was like, oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, got an opposite here for number 8 is count sheep or whatever.
Or whatever.
Whatever. This is waking up at 3 a.m. Like, first thing, maybe try limiting your alcohol intake and reducing caffeine. However, if you do wake up in the middle of the night, Maria D'Angelo, a teacher in Los Angeles who also renovates houses, says she closes her eyes and thinks of a complicated electrical wiring scheme in a kitchen she once renovated. She says that the exercise induces so much boredom that I fall asleep. So, on other things to mix things up, I recite the name of every state in the United States in alphabetical order. I haven't made it past N yet.
N's pretty far, especially if she's accurate.
Yeah.
I don't think most Americans could get to N and not miss a state. So that's pretty good.
Great.
Yeah,
I like that one. 9, if you can give back, like always. There's just no better way to get out of your head and out of your own stuff than helping others, volunteering, or just any sort of giving back. That even if it's just once a week or once a month, just do something small, do something helpful, and just get out of yourself for a little bit.
Yeah.
And our last one is, finally, give yourself a break.
Yep, that's another real tough one to do.
Shaming yourself is counterproductive. Instead, practice some self-compassion. And one of the simplest ways to do so is just ask yourself one question. What do I need right now? So there you have it. We'll have the link in there. Usually New York Times is pretty good about giving people at least 10 free articles a month.
Yeah. So
hopefully you can pop it up and check it out. Some nice little tips. I like that hand meditation tip. It's really cool.
Yeah, what's interesting is I've for a long time I've caught myself doing this, like when I'm like just because of anxiety or whatever, is I will look at something, like if I'm in a room, and I will draw it on my leg with my finger.
Oh,
so it's kind of in the same vein, because it focuses on what I'm doing. And then like I said, you get that sensation of, like your finger on your jeans or whatever. And, I've done that one for a long time. Or another one that I catch myself doing all the time is I will, like, if whatever, like, people will be talking, I will spell out words from what they're saying, essentially. Not necessarily when they're talking to me, but like if I'm in a waiting room and the TV's on, or I hear other conversation, and I will spell out like the words that they're saying. And it's like I'm handwriting them, and I don't know where I ever picked that up. I don't know why I do it, but I just do it. The drawing one's a little different because, for years, that is what I would have done anyways. I always, I used to sit in coffee shops or restaurants, and I would draw stuff while I was, sitting in there waiting for my food or whatever. So I think that's kind of carried over to this. and because it was something to really just get out of my own head, kind of a thing, because you're focusing on what you're looking at and everything. It's hard to really keep having these other thoughts when you're trying to visually measure things and different stuff like that. You're staying a little more present. But I didn't know what I was doing at the time, because that was before I ever heard of CBT or any of that kind of stuff. So it's interesting that how some of us have those kind of coping mechanisms that end up being like, oh yeah, I kind of already do that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. All right. Yeah, definitely the last one. Give yourself a break and be kind to yourself are very, very good tips, and something that a lot of us don't do enough of. It's like we try to be kind to others, but we don't always start at home with that. So, yeah. All right. Well, good article. Good find. I, however, was not one of those people who could look at it for free, because apparently I've already used up my ones, which, doesn't surprise me, because I click on things and then sometimes I'm like, oh, I didn't really want to read the article, but now it counts as though I've, it's like, dang it.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I just want to see the end of the headline, because, it gets cut off on like Twitter or something like that. And it's like, I just want to see the end of the headline to see if I want to read it. And I'm like, dang it, now it's already pulled up.
Buddy.
I should just subscribe. I do look at enough of their stuff that I should just subscribe to it, because I think it's $1 a week. It's not terrible, but anyway, whatever. So yeah, good topic, and hopefully everybody listening can take something away from that to help their mental health. Because again,
That's
like we talk on here a bunch. It's like you don't have to be suffering from a mental health diagnosis to benefit from most of this stuff.
Yeah.
That's something I've been telling a lot of people, where I'll be like, well, blah, blah, with my depression. I'm like, well, I don't have depression. I'm like, yeah, but the exercise still is helpful. A lot of CBT can just be helpful to just help you relax, even if you don't have full blown anxiety, but it can just help to not worry as much or whatever, so, and as I've said countless times, who couldn't benefit from some therapy generally? I feel like we all could benefit from therapy. Yeah. So, or from good therapy anyway. Good therapist. I've heard some stories that it's like, ooh.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, all right.
Well, that's a show.
Yeah. Woo. So I got to pull the links up because I haven't done this in a while.
For myself, you can find me on Twitter at IdaHeno. You can also find my other podcast on Twitter at MTN. What is it? MTN Pod. Yes. Capital M, capital T, capital N Pod. And we have a website, mtnpodcast.com. And I am still behind on my editing as I started with, but you can check out our episode on Long Kiss Goodnight. There's a couple of polls that ran, and I really need to get our conspiracy theory versus assassins episode posted, because clearly the people that answered the poll are support me and have vindicated my thoughts on that episode. So I feel like I really need to get this up now.
Yeah.
Because I felt a little ganged up on. I was like, how could you like that one? Anyhow, I will do so. Otherwise you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. You just look up Henno Heiter. There's only one of me. Actually, I take that back. There's some teenager somewhere who has my name, but what are you going to do?
Yeah. But why should you change your name? He's the one that sucks. Yeah.
I know. No. Seriously. I was here first.
Yeah. That's true. You were.
I was.
Yeah.
Just a fact.
Yep. I remember then seeing that when someone looked up my username on Twitter, which is Stunami, and they were like, oh, I saw these other guys. And I'm like, yeah, but they all look like way younger than me. And like, I had it first. Like,
that's it.
Like, they're just copycats. I've had it since I don't even know, in the 90s. But, yeah, you can find, Where'd the links go? There we go. I was waiting for it to refresh because why wouldn't it, right? You can contact the show via our website at thecrazylifepodcast.weebly.com. You can you can send us an email if you'd like to at thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com. You can find the show on Twitter at thecrazylifepod, where I post when new episodes go up. If you want to reach out to Jen, just reach out to us through the show Twitter, and I'll forward it on to her, or, if you email us, she'll see that or whatever. If you want to find me on social media, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Stunami. You can find my other podcast at salty_language on Twitter or at saltylanguage.com. That show is not safe for work. It's just me and my best pal yammering about whatever, has happened to us that week, and just what we've watched or various news stuff, that we find on the internet. So it's good fun, but again, not safe for work. So please be careful with sensitive ears. We're part of the Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. So please go check out the other shows there. And if you'd like to find us on Facebook, I forgot the Facebook group link is facebook.com/groups/crazylifepodcast. And and if you need help, please reach out. There's all sorts of people out there and resources to help. And of course, please check on your friends, especially ones you haven't talked to in a little while, or if they're going through a rough time. And then, of course, please be kind to one another. Please show some kindness when you're out. Help people when you can. And of course, as I said a few minutes ago, it's like, make sure that starts at home. Be kind to yourself. Practice your self-care. Before, I know it's tough. A lot of people, my mom's talked about this, how she'll get up in the morning and think, well, I got to do this. And then she just goes into it. And then hours later, she'll be like, oh, I didn't take my medicine. I haven't eaten breakfast. And I'm like, and it's like, no, it's like the first thing you should do is get up, take your medicine, eat your breakfast, whatever order you need to do that in, then do everything else, unless there's like a time sensitive, reason, but, take care of yourself, then do everything else. So, yeah. And again, like I said, please be kind to yourself as well as others. And, I think that's it, right?
Yeah, sounds like it.
Sounds like it. All right. Well, there you go. All right. Well, Heno, you want to take us out of here?
Yeah, don't forget to live your own omelet and don't worry about yesterday's pizza.